This conference will now be recorded.
I call to order the July 18 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Kelly, can you call the roll?
Member Ray?
Here.
Use your microphone.
Sorry. Here.
Member Varga?
Here.
And Sheriff Carey?
Here. So we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we open the floor to public comment. Mr. Brown.
Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. I have 3 minutes, right? I wanted to bring up an issue which Kelly and Lynn are already aware of, and the Garden Club was aware of, and I brought it up in a meeting about a tree removal along a property that's being developed. There's a code included in the Land Development Code 66151 about tree removal permits. And the intent is to try to save large canopy trees. I got involved because I'm a member of the Garden Club, and then I was just going to say, well, it's Ocean Ridge, there's nothing we can do about it. And of course, the tree is gone. But people from the Garden Club called, more than one, and neighbors called, including the neighbors who live near that particular property. So I know you have a lot of work, and if we're not going to use that code properly, where there's actually a permit issued and arborist looks at the tree and says it's diseased, needs to go, or it's in the wrong place, these types of things, if we're not going to use the code, we ought to get rid of it, because it definitely was not issued. A permit was not issued for that particular tree to be removed. There was a site plan that identified all the vegetation that should have been removed. That was identified, but everything was removed, completely stripped a lot. And that's what we do in Ocean Ridge. We strip lots and then rebuild. But this tree was more than 100 years old. And most people don't know the history. This town used to be part of Boynton. And when Meisner built the Women's Club building over there, any of you who've ever been into that building, it's a fantastic example of Meisner's architect. These trees were planted. There's one right across from Dunkin' Donuts that's on Federal Highway, a banyan tree. The state aligned the highway when they came in, and the sidewalk goes around the tree. The dude that built the permit house next door to this project puts his wall around the tree and didn't remove it. So all I'm trying to get you to look at is, are we going to look at trees, or are we not going to look at trees? Or if we do remove a tree, do we require replacements that provide enough shade and oxygen for us to survive as humans? That's what it's all about. Thank you.
I think you're correct. Give me the address of the...
It's 66-151. And it clearly talks about, being reviewed.
This address where the banyan tree was removed.
What address? Oh, it's Al Nor's address, right next to Anna. 2 properties south of Anna. And if you look at the property where the church people live at Anna and Old Ocean and A1A, that tall structure, the trees are still there in the front. They told them they couldn't move them.
Yeah.
That's when we had different people working for the town, though.
So, we have ordinances, they should be enforced.
Yeah, I agree, or removed.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Our next agenda item is the approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any comments or corrections?
No.
Do I entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes.
Second.
Okay.
Then a motion.
And seconded. Thank you. All approve?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Will the town clerk read the next agenda item of the quasi judicial procedure?
Next item is a quasi judicial hearing regarding the development plan review for 6009 North Ocean Boulevard.
The quasi judicial meeting is now called to order. At this time, any ex parte communication should either be disclosed by identifying the subject of the communication and identifying the person or group or entity whom the communication took place, or any correspondence provided to the town clerk may as a part of the public record. In addition, each member of the commission may identify the existence of any investigation or site visits he or she conducted, or any expert opinion received, and disclosed any conflicts of interest on this matter. Do any commissioners have any ex parte communication they wish to disclose?
Do not.
Thank you. We will then proceed with the hearing on this matter. Will the town clerk please swear in the witnesses? If you are going to speak to this matter, either as staff or as applicant, please stand.
Please stand and raise your right hand.
I can just stand.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? When you are called forward, please state your name and address clearly for the record and whether or not you've been sworn in, and please speak directly into the microphone.
So am I gonna read the staff report or? am I
No,
supposed to-
no, staff comes first.
Step.
The town staff does their presentation first. Thank you.
That's what I said.
Typically, we have the town planner here. Hopefully, he's on his way, so we will go ahead with the town engineer.
The town planner is actually out for this week.
Okay, so who is presenting for the
His,
town staff?
we have his report in the packet.
We were recommending.
Summertime, how to get people.
See, that's why I asked.
Kelly, I can read this report. Mr. Chair, I can read the report for Mr. Gorman
Thank you.
as town staff. I can swear in because I wasn't planning on speaking.
Oh, yes. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right, in filling in for Mr. Gorman, the town planner, I will go through his staff report. The applicant is requesting development plan review approval in accordance with Town Code, Land Development Code, including Chapter 63, General and Administrative Provisions, Section 63-56 for development plan review, and Chapter 64 zoning, Section 64-1 RSF and RSE single-family residential districts. The application also includes review under Chapter 67 buildings and building regulations, Section 67-17 coastal construction for construction seaward of the 1997 coastal construction control line. The applicant submitted the land development action application, plans, and supporting documents to the town on April 28th, 2023. Town staff reviewed the application documents and met with the applicant on May 10, 2024. I think that should be May 10, 2023, to review comments. Subsequent revisions to address staff comments were submitted by the applicant on May 17, 2023 and June 9, 2023. And the revised plans comply with town codes subject to review by the Planning and Zoning Board for compliance with Section 63-56. The development plan review is subject to the requirements of the town code 63-56, which includes the following. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall use the criteria as set forth herein when reviewing site plans. Relationship of the building to the site. The site should be planned to accomplish a desirable transition with the streetscape. The overall balance and proportion of the proposed building will be considered. The height and scale of each building should be compatible with its site and other on-site buildings. Relationship of the building and site to adjoining areas. Building should be designed to enhance the surrounding neighborhood. Harmony in architectural style, form, texture, mass, and lines, as well as materials, colors, and use of architectural elements should be provided in the design of all buildings. Buildings should be consistent with the established neighborhood character or within acknowledged architectural styles. The height and scale of the proposed structure should be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Building design. Evaluation of a project should be based on the quality of its design in relationship to surroundings. Components such as roofs, windows, doors, eaves, and parapets should have balanced proportions in relationship to one another. Colors should be harmonious and representative of the architectural style of the building and generally within the character of the neighborhood. Design attention should be given to mechanical equipment or other utility hardware on roofs, building, and at grade so as to screen them from off-site view. Buildings should be of a size as to be in harmony with permanent neighboring development or within acknowledged architectural styles. Use of any or all of the above preferred design elements in conjunction with the renovation or addition to existing homes is encouraged, along with the removal of any existing elements that are not preferred. The architectural style and elements of proposed additions and renovations shall be consistent with the other portions of the building. All proposed structures shall be consistent with the town's land development regulations and the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. In addition to the above, pursuant to 63-56, Section 3, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall approve, deny, approve with conditions, or request additional information in order to make a determination that the proposal is compliant with the above criteria. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Board approve the application subject to staff conditions and review the project in accordance with Section 63-56 as noted as above.
Thank you. Is there a building official's report? Has it been reviewed by a building official?
Yes.
Were there any comments? Okay, so it is, we can assume that to the level that the plans have been submitted, they are in compliance with the building official's review. Thank you. Now we'd like the town engineer to present her report.
Hi, Tara Bamber, town engineer. The plans have been reviewed for drainage with the town code in mind, and they meant, sorry, the plans meet, sorry, the town drainage code with minor comments that will be addressed during permit.
Thank you, Tara. The applicant now makes its presentation on this matter.
Are we gonna be able to use this or not?
You can let me know what you need to put up.
You wanna go? Just take it for the rendering, I'll be very quick. In the meantime, Paul Fishman, Shoal Levy Fishman, offices in Miami, Tampa.
Can you move the microphone up so we can, there,
Paul Fishman.
thank you.
Shoal Levy Fishman, Miami, Florida, 8425 Biscayne Boulevard, as well as offices in Tampa, Florida.
Thank you.
I'm here with my associate Michael McKay, landscape architect Tyler Nielsen, and Dr. Bill Stoddard, our amazing civil engineer.
And the landscape architects here today?
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
We've got everybody right here, should anybody have any questions. And since the board did such, since Lynn did such a great job presenting the project overall, not a whole lot I have to say. So really, I want to thank everybody for letting us be here. It's been many years coming. We've been waiting for this town code to change. We've had several projects, clients come to us from this area over the years, and we've not been able to take the projects because of the style of residence we designed, which is in the tropical modern style, which is the new Florida vernacular. We're doing these projects up and down the coast. We don't believe in the old white box architecture. It's boring. I'm a South Floridian from Vero Beach myself. We grew up with this vernacular, so we've taken this vernacular and we've taken it to the next level.
And this is a little new to us because it's only been recently that
yes,
flat roofs have been allowed in this
brand
town.
new.
So we're looking for you to set a good tone.
And that's we've been working very closely with Tara and Corey, and everything, Kelly, obviously over at the city, and because that's what we want to do. We want to become a leader in your new code, and we want to show you, hopefully we can show your newer architects, let's not just put a white box and put windows in there and say it's modern, and because that's going to destroy the charm of this neighborhood. My grandparents from Boynton Beach, so a lot of family history here. I know the beaches very well, and this is really what the homes are starting to deserve now. And so with that, I'll start as we like to. Our entrances, you'll see we really like to blend even starting with our pavement materials. We really like to blend the landscaping in with the house. We don't like to create a concrete jungle. As a way to address some environmental design factors, which are very typical in Florida vernacular architecture, use as like vertical baffles, for instance, for western exposure sun. You can see right there in over on the second floor, I'm using the vertical baffles, and that's any of you who have a western view know exactly what I'm talking about when it hits about 3 o'clock till the sun goes down. So what that does is we're in there, we're really trying to address not only the environmental design factors, we're also trying to create a beautiful piece of architecture and especially be a model home for this new code specifically. We're using on the front, we originally had glass to really, we wanted, even though it's a garage, we wanted to really break up the architecture. We don't like big, heavy massing. So we actually, instead of doing a window, which we had on our previous design, we said, well, why don't we incorporate some environmental design factors like white noise. Not that that's the noisiest road in the world, but it is still a state road right there. So what we're doing is we're introducing some water to help the clients while on not only as visibility for the improvement to the neighborhood and the curb appeal, but actually to create some white noise to diminish some of the traffic sounds. And so on site, really, you're out of the city, you're officially in this beautiful, lovely Zen environment. And we'll do the next one. So as you come in, you can see, I think this rendering really exemplifies our use of water features of, we're in between whether or not we're using synthetic or real exterior wood, but if we do use exterior wood, we always go with sustainably harvested South American hardwoods, so that we ensure they're sustainable and and then the other materials are dark bronze, aluminum, glass. We like to use the light gray material as the Florida limestone that we like to use. So we try to use local materials and things that are very reminiscent of the tropics. And again, back to how we like our homes to feel like spas or getaways. For the hectic city life, we come in with walking over water with a little reflecting pond with some, with floating planters, very reminiscent of South Florida and the tropical landscape, which Tyler can speak more to if you'd like him to. Go to the next. And in the rear, I think this actually allows me to talk a little bit more about the environmental design and the movement of the house as well. As you can see, back to what I was mentioning earlier, we don't believe in white box architecture. We just feel it's the lazy man's way out of designing a home. So you can see we really articulate every single one of our masses, our overhangs, lots of solids versus voids. You can see we have water, but we mix a little floating, we have a little floating, call it a little patio, actually on top of the pool for people to lounge. So we really are trying to create some visual diversity and again, really steer away from that white box look, which, in theory now your code allows. We were working very closely with Corey and Tara and the gentleman before, the gentleman from the island, I forget his name, the previous town manager, in getting to this. So we've been working with the city for I think about 1.5 years now while this code is kind of realize itself into fruition. So we appreciate the opportunity of coming here. Happy to speak more in detail about any elements of the project. I think from a sustainability standpoint, I think it's important that we're mentioned that we're using super sustainable elements like a cool roof. We use, high albedo roofing systems, which, we reject all the bad heat and allow the buildings to be cooled and allow the ACs to move less. We're using insulated glass, because we have so much glass in the house, we like to actually use it as a wall. This isn't California, this is South Florida, and we don't live with our doors open year round. We like to look, but we don't like to live, we like it a couple times in winter, but so for that matter, we have to use very, very expensive, nice glass that really has almost the R value of an actual solid wall, or at least close to it, if you will. And I know I mentioned the deep overhangs, but I can't accentuate that more, especially right now. I think everybody was just outside for at least 5 seconds. This time of year, it's just almost deathly humid in Florida. So if we want to be outside, we want to be under a covered space, right? And we get such beautiful breezes here on the beach. This allows us to use our homes, our clients to use the homes year round. So with that said, while I'm up here, if you have any questions for me, I'd be honored to answer them. Otherwise, I have Bill Stoddard, if you guys have any civil engineering questions, and Tyler Neeson for any landscape architecture questions. I think it's a perfect place to end it.
Think while we've got you here,
Come on.
ask a couple questions.
All
We may
right.
have more of your landscape architect, but
Go ahead.
Stephen?
It's a beautiful home.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
You got a lot of nice finishes on there. This is a really nice spot you did here, so really made a lifestyle for the owner there.
We appreciate it. Hopefully we get to
Crazy
do it
credit. In
anymore.
my opinion, that's all I can say is I looked all through it. It's a beautiful home. Created a really nice lifestyle. I'm sure they're gonna be very happy. Like I got your idea on the water in the front to kill the white noise. Good job.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
I have a
Sydney?
question, on the waterfall up front. There's not a lot of that in Ocean Ridge.
That's okay.
And just from like a neighbor's standpoint, how loud is it?
It's nothing you guys will be able to hear.
Okay,
So it's kind of does the opposite. It's a trickle of a noise. So if you're gonna go to anywhere, if you were to go to a hotel with a little water.
Right, no, I
feature,
think
you're
it's
gonna hear a shh. You're gonna hear a
great.
soft little shh, but you're not gonna hear that from the public right away.
Okay,
You'll
so
hear
like
that
the
from on
neighbors,
site.
like the to the south, because their front door is right there, but
Yeah, correct. And no, and
It
this is
looks
a valid-
massive,
This is
but
about, by the way, this is a valid point. We just did a house in Jupiter Island. We
Okay.
actually had to do because of the same reason they weren't familiar with water features up front. We actually did a sound study just to alleviate the concern of that. So by any means, if there's any condition or et cetera, if we need to show you that it meets
If I
acceptable.
can interject.
Yeah,
Whatever,
please.
is that we do that a lot, especially when you got a house like with the back, like in.
Right, I think it's great. I was
facing
just worried about the
A1A, Just to
size.
go, we had one off A1A we did, it's got we did fountains behind the master just so that, just like bubblers and just to give some sound to just kill out the cars. Water's gonna sound a lot better than the.
I agree.
motorcycle.
Yeah, I guess it's just to offset the noise pollution, but to your
And
point.
I think it's great that's what you see from the
Yeah.
road rather than the big white box.
Amen. Anything else?
Yeah, sorry. Above the garage, is that turf?
Yes.
Okay, and that's just
so
for
they don't-
aesthetics?
Yeah, so we went through this in depth with Cordy and Tara, so there's no usable, we do that for just as much the neighbors as our resident, just so
Okay.
they're not looking at a white fluid applied roof with, ugly, gray
Yeah.
drain spots. So what we do is we get not that doesn't look like AstroTurf, it looks like
Right.
real grass. So
Okay.
that way, when they're looking down on their roofs from the second floor, like in that little corridor right there, they're not looking at a bunch of drainage stains.
But there's no access from the house.
Zero access. And we even at one point, I think we had equipment up there and we worked with the previous city manager on getting it off there just so it didn't promote any kind of rooftop activities. Because I know that was a really big concern when you guys were working on the new code.
Is that
That's great.
my question for you? No rooftop equipment here?
Zero.
Thank you.
Zero. And that was with the help of Mr. Corey. Hope he feels better.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you. I've got a couple questions for the landscape person, but we can, I think it's probably be nice if he walked us through the landscape.
Yeah,
plan.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Good morning, Tyler Nielsen from Nielsen Landscape Architects, Jupiter, Florida. So the existing conditions of the site, there are only 2 existing palms. There are no existing trees or other plant material. These 2 existing palms actually exist on the east side of the lot, and the intent is to relocate these 2 coconut palms so that they don't split the view from the main residence looking out towards the ocean. So the 2 coconut palms will stay within the property limits, just their final position altered to ensure kind of the views that the client wants are preserved. Do you mind going to, yeah, keep going. So our plant palette, please stop right here, this is great. But our plant palette consists of a heavily native plant palette to be appropriate for the salt air conditions that are going to be coming off of the shoreline. So we're using predominantly a native understory to create the privacy buffer along the north and south property lines. This consists of crabwood, wild cinnamon, cocoa plum, to create kind of a sense of the edge of the woods. So it's not your typical Palm Beach style hedge that is a monoculture of planting. It is a matrix of coastal native plants that have various textures. You have the heavy texture of the Canella winterana, you have the finer texture of the crabwood. You then mix it with some of our native shrubs, the red tip cocoa plum and the wild coffee, and then you get that sense of kind of a more natural privacy curtain at the surrounding edges. And then to provide scale to the architecture and to frame the architecture, we're using our native pigeon plum, sea grape trees, and then bringing in some coconut palms, some native silver thatch palms, and then lastly, as kind of accents or sculptures in the garden, we're bringing Copernicia baeliana. It is a beautiful specimen palm that has not only a great sculptural form to it, but is able to handle the wind and the salt that is going to be coming off of the shoreline. So if we go to the next sheet, thank you very much. You can see that we are using the pigeon plums, the sea grapes, and the coconut palms to kind of provide the privacy screening for the second floor terracing of the home, but then also to frame views to the east and the west. And then if you don't mind scrolling to the next sheet, then one more. You can see that our understory plan really is all about creating kind of in a very small amount of area, a dense vegetation buffer. And then looking out towards the east, towards the shoreline, we're using sea lavender, sandcord grass, aloe, specimens that are very adaptable to the shoreline environment to create kind of this natural textured garden along the ground plane. And that's, in short, the story of the landscape design for this project.
Thank you. Sydney, any questions?
So you said you're gonna relocate the 2 palms?
Yes.
To like the main?
Yes.
Yeah, like not on the seaward of the.
Yeah, that's correct.
Got it. I don't have any questions. No.
No. Again, nice job. Thank you for making such a nice house for the town.
Got a couple questions. On the east property line, so this will be along Old Ocean, we saw the architect's rendering, which is meant to show the house. But I'm assuming along that property line you have some Yeah, you mentioned lavender, but is there any height that's going to be along that property line and about, you know, the simple question is there going to be a hedge along there or a substitute for a hedge, and how high is it going to be?
No, there isn't a tall hedge on the east property line. The purpose of the design there is to allow views across to the shoreline. And so when we look at the planting palette for that east property line, we're using sandcord grass that grows to about above like knee height. Then we're using sea lavender, which is also a native shoreline plant that will grow up to like waist height, that has a very soft silvery foliage. We're also including 7-year apple, which is a shoreline shrub that will at maximum grow to about shoulder height, but we're using those at the more or less the corners of the property. Again, we want to frame the views out to the water, not conceal.
And the west property line along A1A, how is, I'm assuming the owner wants some buffer there, so how are you doing that?
So, and we're accomplishing the curtain of green along the west property line using native understory trees. That's where we're using the crabwood, the Simpson stoppers, the wild cinnamon, that those native understory trees will mature out to a height of anywhere between 12 and 16 feet tall. The intent is to kind of keep them in a more bush form so that they have a foliage that is full from kind of head to toe to create that edge of the forest effect, so that from the front door, when you're looking west, that you're not seeing traffic out in the right of way, that you get that sense that your home is nestled in typical native Florida caucus.
Now, this is more of an architect question, but it kind of triggered. Is there a driveway gate?
Yeah.
There is, okay. And how high is it? Is solid, and how high is it?
We don't do them solid, we'll typically do them,
Okay.
they're typically around 5 feet.
I think it's 4 foot tall, is that the maximum in the code?
Yeah, whatever the code maximum is.
Okay, go back. Artificial turf, where is it being used and to what extent?
I believe only on the rooftops. The sod that we are specifying in our plans is Zoysia Zeon. It is a Zoysia turf. It's great for the shoreline environment. It handles the salt very well. And this new cultivar of Zoysia is very fungus resistant. It's a great sod selection for this property.
Yeah, it's just on the lower roofs. It's just anywhere visible, so it's just those.
You are allowed in the motor court in those gaps that are hard to.
Fair enough.
But that's the only place in the front elevation that's in the front side that's allowed. Lastly, our code asks for a canopy tree or some type of a shade tree, typically in the front elevation. Have you included that?
Yes, we've included pigeon palm trees and sea grape.
I wouldn't think of a sea grape as a canopy tree. I don't know, I'm not a landscape architect, but it depends what size you put in.
So a sea grape tree you can actually get that would be 30 to 40 feet tall with, so we're not using it as what you might see along the dunes as a shrub. It is definitely a native canopy tree. And the pigeon plum is also a native canopy tree.
Do we have pictures of those?
Yes,
The pigeon plum is a palm tree?
the pigeon plum is a native tree.
Is it a palm?
It is
Sorry,
not
it
a
was-
palm,
okay.
it is a tree.
Okay.
So you can see the tree kind of in the center.
Okay.
Of that would be.
And that's going to be located where? On the front?
Yes, so at the corner of, as you come through the driveway off on the right-hand side, we're planning on using that sea grape to, again, act as kind of the sculptural, the focal piece within the garden.
the dune area, how much modification and planting are you doing on the dune?
So on the dune area where we have the dune crossover, we're planning on adding some silver thatch palms, native Florida thatch palms, to rehabilitate the area that will be kind of disturbed for this crossover. We'll be adding sea oats. You can see the railroad vine with the purple flower, which is also a native dune plant. We're just planning on the periphery of that dune crossover, using that as the rehabilitation plants.
And I have a question relative to the dune for the architect, if you could step back up. There's this deck area out there, but I couldn't tell beyond the surface area, what's there, what height, what's the structure?
It's gonna be, because this all gets managed through DEP, so it's gonna be wood, it's all gonna be breakaway, so it's, I think, you know the requirements. 4 foot wide, 4 foot walkway.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the structure. There's some kind of a shade structure or something out there, isn't there? No?
No, it's literally just a wood deck.
It's a wood deck?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna maybe put some fittings in there, so if they wanna have an umbrella and sit there,
Yeah,
but
sure.
nothing permanent.
Okay, that's what I couldn't tell.
So just wood.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant before we go to public comment? Okay. Thank you. Nicely done. Now, I've lost my place. At this time, any of the members of the public who wish to submit relevant information to the commission may come forward, speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Please indicate whether you are for or against the project, or neither, or for the project, against the project, or neither. Mr. Brown.
Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. No, I have to be real careful what I say here, because my wife loves these houses, and it's a beautiful house. And the only comment I would make is I hope that when a wave comes over that dune, that glass wall holds, because that water is going to go right through that house. The other comment is that I wasn't real sure, and I haven't committed to memory, the elevation, the flood elevation is 10, but how high up, based on the plan, is the floor area, the base floor elevation?
14.3.
So when you're standing on Old Ocean and you're looking at the house, it's going to be, I think Old Ocean is 10.
Approximately.
So you're going to be 5 feet above that, and that was the comment I had. You get a lot of people walking along there in the winter, and they're golfers.
No, I know, my client knows all of them.
Yeah.
They drive his cars around the ocean.
So people are going to look, as Rick pointed out, they're going to look into that pool area. And if you're nude bathing, you're in trouble.
Oh, you, Terry.
So I just wanted to be sure, so the pool can't go up to 14 feet. The pool has to stay at ground level.
Old Ocean closer to 12, actually.
Actually, okay. So, but what I'm saying is someone looking at the pool will be able to, from Old Ocean, will look right into the pool. Because he's saying he's not going to screen it with any kind of landscaping.
Yeah, so that's why our client bought the property,
Yeah.
so that you can see the ocean.
The only comment I would have about that is it's a beautiful house, but it's got to be softened because it's supposed to blend in somehow with what's there, right? So there's no other square box houses around with flat roofs. We love flat roofs, and we were shocked when the code changed, the knee-jerk reaction to getting rid of them because of one commissioner. That's an old story, though. The other thing is that on the plan I saw that you had black olive listed as one of the trees. Is that right?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, you look at the plan again, unless you changed it. I would object to black olives. It's a garbage tree. It grows fast. It's a messy tree, and replace it with oak. That's the tree you want. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does staff have any additional comments after the applicant's presentation? Hearing none, And the applicant now has an opportunity if they need to make any additional comments. Any additional comments from members of the commission? Okay. So I now declare the quasi judicial hearing closed. Now entertain a motion for approval, denial, approval with conditions, deferral,
I'll give them approval.
approval. And that would be with any staff conditions?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, with the,
Yeah, where-
per the,
Town code, yeah.
Also approval with staff recommendations.
thank you. So we have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. We really
And,
appreciate the
and
opportunity.
please, since we've had issues along along Ocean Avenue in construction timeline on these homes, be expeditious. Thank you.
Amen.
The town would appreciate it.
We've got South Florida's fastest contractor with us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
So this is a time reserved for commissioner comments. Stephen went first last time. Sydney, do you have anything?
I have no new business to bring up.
And Stephen?
I just had a quick question here is, I talked last time about bringing down, making things a little easier for, these guys had a pretty nice plan to get through. Do we have a workshop on that or what's the next step? I'm new to this stuff. So
No, we're all a little new to each of these things.
How will we try to figure this out when we have some type of, try to set something up in the next few months to just go over the whole, package to try to make things, I don't even think staff would mind making things a little easier to get through,
The town commission is looking to have a joint workshop with the planning and zoning and the commission in September after everyone gets back from their summer vacations. In early August, I plan to send out a request to the members of both groups as well as to all of our staff to see if there are recommendations of changes or specific topics that want to be discussed so that we can make sure the agenda goes out early and everyone is prepared for that meeting.
Cool. Thank you.
Chair, I do want to mention one thing that came up at the last town commission meeting and that you'll probably be seeing at your next meeting. One of the requests to have this commission look at is the pitches of roofs. As you know, we have a pitch roof and we now allow flat roofs. Anything below, I believe it's a 412 pitch, is considered a flat roof. And once it's considered a flat roof, the town's code currently requires a parapet. So the issue came up because we have heard that there's someone who wants to do less than a 412 pitch, but not do a parapet. It's more of a ranch style with less of a slope. So the commission gave direction to have this commission review that issue.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna work with Corey when he's back next month to bring forward an item to look at, if that's the commission wants to consider allowing for something in between.
Yeah, and there's some architectural history on this, and that's that those lower pitched roofs during the last century were considered to be cheaper homes. That's what you would associate with a tract home builder, and I think the town adopted a higher pitch because they wanted this to be a town of more expensive homes that differentiated from that. Whether today's architectural styles have evolved from that point, that's an interesting question, but it wasn't ignored when the parapet requirement got put in place and the flat roof. It's intentional that you're either low profile or have some mass with the roof line. And the part we have to be cautious about is that we have a different height for quote flat roof structures than we have for sloped roof structures, and we don't want this to be a way to game height. So you go to a really low sloped roof and you gain height because you have, 36 feet? So it's worth looking into, but it may require holding those lower pitched roofs to the flat roof height requirement. Because we have, height is an issue because of the new DEA now. That's the DEP. Anyway, the new elevations. FEMA, thank you. The new, so we're already getting houses with a lot more mass than we have in the past. We can't change FEMA, but we don't want to accentuate that. That's my initial, I hadn't heard this, but just a sense that in the past, planning and zoning has been sensitive to height. And we really were careful, as you recall, when we went to the flat roof, of not allowing a 36-foot flat roof house because of the mass. So we'll do our best. These things require staff help and research, so that's what we'll need.
There's one thing it gets confusing here is because you got to have the 4-pitch roof, but then it's really confusing, I believe, in the code from when I looked at it. You know, when we do the double pitch roof, you know, when you come up from like a 5 and then you go down to it, you know, you see that, and it gets really confusing in the code. Like, is that almost a flat roof area, you know, like to people, but it's really an architectural style.
It's an architectural style. It's pretty common.
We really got to probably check out into all that just to make things fair for people, because that is a style that people do like, is the double pitch roof here. Not all the time, but it happens.
Yeah.
So, and make it a little more clear, make it
nice to have a builder on the commission.
So people like those things.
So.
But I agree with you on the height, because you just go put a bunch of little 3-pitch roofs and then big walls. Yes.
The way I
takes a little bit of thought here.
The way I tend to look at this is my job here is to be the advocate for the neighbor, and think if I was the neighbor of this home coming in, because we do have a lot of mixed styles and things, and this is today's was a large lot, plenty of room to buffer from the neighbors. Often we'll pick at the side elevations because they're what your neighbor sees, and neighbor very likely had a 1-story next to them, and they're going to have, we don't want to give them a big flat wall to look at. So these are the things. If we can be the advocate for the neighborhood, and because developers' objective is to create the highest value on that site, and that's fine, but we don't want it at the detriment of the town.
Just want something still.
Yeah. And these things are here for the long term. You live with them. It may take 30 minutes for us to review one, but this house is going to be here the next 50 years. And if we miss it, like, got missed on the Pyramid House, it's shame on us. As you can see, we could hardly get a quorum, but we did. Summers are tough. We had scheduled to take August off if possible. Kelly, are we going to be able to do that?
Looks like it.
You don't know yet?
I was expecting applications to come in. They have not come in, so I think we're okay for not having one.
So we are comfortable in saying no August meeting? Correct. Okay. I will not be here in September, so we'll let Dave, chair, if you can let him know. Okay. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. We'll call the meeting closed. We don't need to have a motion to adjourn, do we? No. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff. Lynn, thank you for being the substitute town planner.
Happy to.
And Tara, it's always a pleasure.